Orlando.
Welcome to the OZone.
Welcome to the OZone.
Welcome to the OZone.
Welcome to the OZone.
The voice of Magic fans.
Welcome back to another episode of the OZone podcast, the voice of Magic fans, episode 17. And in the studio today, we have Justin,
Yo.
Al,
Yo.
Ariel,
Hey.
Mark,
Here.
and myself, Anthony. And in today's episode, we're going to start off, we're going to jump right into our icebreaker. And in the OZone, thought of a really good discussion about a couple of days ago, last night, Dwayne Wade just got his jersey retired in Miami. We just inducted Darryl Armstrong into the Magic Hall of Fame, and it had me thinking. As of right now, the Magic do not have any jerseys retired in the Rafters. The only jersey that we have is number 6, which is the fans. And truthfully, it's a little frustrating for me because it's kind of borderline embarrassing. So my question to you guys, if there was one Orlando Magic player that you would retire one jersey in the Rafters right now, who would it be and why?
For me, would probably be Tracy McGrady. I think
That's
number
a good
one.
choice, Justin. That's a good choice.
Yeah, I think T-Mac is one of those players that kind of bridged the old style of basketball with the new style. Had hops out of the planet, could literally play anywhere on the court. T-Mac was a guy that could, he could score from there. He's emblematic of the Orlando Magic. At least for me, when I think of Tracy McGrady, I don't think of Houston Rockets Tracy McGrady. I think of Orlando Magic Tracy McGrady, and he didn't spend the majority of his career here. But I think his impact was felt here a lot. So for me, that's one of the players that is always weird to me that he's not kind of remembered more on this team, and that the team doesn't go in that direction of honoring T-Mac. I think is a little weird, but that would be it for me.
For me, it's going to be Dwight Howard. I know a lot of Magic fans don't like Dwight Howard anymore, but if you think about the past players that were stars for the Orlando Magic, I believe Dwight Howard was the only player that brought us the most success.
Mm-hmm.
Shaquille O'Neal was with us, but he wasn't with us for so long. So Dwight Howard, for me, he brought us to the finals, even though we lost to the Lakers and Kobe Bryant. He was an all-star for us for several years. He was on our team for 8 years, so I feel like that's enough years to be qualified to get your jersey retired. And like I said, he brought the most success to his franchise. He brought the city together. We were all excited to watch every game, every season. And for that, number 12, I want to see that jersey up there.
I would say number 12 if he comes back and retires here. But if he didn't leave the way he did, then I would be on board. But for me, my favorite Magic player would be Tracy McGrady. So I'm gonna go with Justin there. And he was just exciting, but I feel like him going to Houston messed it up for me. So I really don't have anybody. But my closest person would be Tracy McGrady.
I'd be curious. I want to say that I read an article a while back where it gave the Orlando Magic's requirements for the jersey retirement. I gotta find it, but I think when we look at impactfulness of players and kind of what they mean, it's similar to how Allen Iverson made the number 3 popular, the same way that Michael Jordan made the 23 popular. I think that in no way, shape, or form should another Magic player wear the number 1 jersey. I was a little unhappy the fact that Jonathan Isaac wore number 1. Truthfully, he's a really good player, so I'm okay with it. But if we look at the list of other players that wore number 1, Gilbert Arenas, Doug Christie, Von Wafer, like these are players that don't deserve to wear that prestigious number 1. And against any other team, can you think of any other team in the NBA that a player wore number 1 that was way more impactful than Penny Hardaway and Tracy McGrady?
I really can't.
Number 1 is just it. That's a Magic number, and that number is ours. And I really don't have has to be Tracy McGrady or has to be Penny Hardaway. I truthfully think that it should be a co-retired.
Makes sense.
One, no other team in the NBA has ever done anything like that. And then 2, they both made that number popular and famous. And I think that when you look at other teams like the Sacramento Kings, they got Vlade Divac, retired. Chris Webber, retired. They never won a championship.
Yep.
They were a really good team. And we have players on our roster that they're players that new coming players, free agents can look up the Rafters and be like, yo, this team at Orlando has history. You know, Tracy McGrady was one of LeBron James's favorite players growing up. Penny Hardaway impacted Tracy McGrady. So it's one of those things where I believe that number one should be in the Rafters, and there's no questions about it. And I think that it comes to a point that the Magic need to pull the trigger.
I agree. I can't disagree with you on that. I mean, in my opinion, though, I'm torn between Dwight and Shaq. Both of them played here really not that long. Think about it. Like Dwight was here, 6 years in Orlando?
8 years.
8 years. Shaq was only here 4. But I feel the impact those guys made in the franchise. They took us to the finals. Nobody else has, other than those two guys. I just feel that Shaq era was more impactful to Orlando. We were a new team. We were just a fresh team in the NBA. Making those appearances to the finals, playing the Michael Jordan teams and playing them well in those years. And Shaq averaged like 29 points a game. It was insane what he was putting up those years. He really added value to our team. He really made us a watchable team. And Dwight did the same thing. So I'm torn between those two guys. But if I had to choose one, I would choose Shaquille O'Neal. I feel like he was the one that really made Orlando a watchable team and a fun team to watch. When Michael Jordan really had all the impact back then, he was running the NBA. So that's the guy that I would go with.
Shaq put Orlando on the map, 100%, right? My only issue with Shaq is, let's say that we did retire his jersey, right? To me, it feels a little cheesy. It feels cheesy because, one, he has his jersey retired already in 2 different arenas,
right?
In LA and in Miami.
Yeah.
And then 2, not only did he get them retired, he gave them all championships except us.
That's true.
And they gave him a statue for it in Miami and in LA. So we retire his jersey kind of seems just, I don't know. It's kind of, we're just doing it just to say that we were a part of his legacy, what he's been able to accomplish.
Yeah.
It's the only thing
I
I
agree
like about it. Now, if we're talking about players in total that we should have retired in the Rafters, I honestly believe that it should be Tracy McGrady and Penny Hardaway. They should share that dual one. But I also think Dwight Howard and Jameer Nelson. I think the two of them together did so much for this team, and they were with us. Dwight was with us for 8 years. Jameer with 10 years. They led us to NBA Finals. They impacted the Orlando Magic and brought us back to a relevant team, a relevant era. I think that combined, who wouldn't be proud to have those jerseys in the Rafters? And I think that it not only should be to really honor those players, because I really don't feel the Hall of Fame is really enough. I mean, it's good for the David Steeles and the Rich DeVosses, but for players, I think that there's a better way to do it, and I don't feel the Hall of Fame is sufficient.
Yeah, no, again, how do you even honor those guys? Like, for you to see that honor, you gotta go walk through the lobby of the arena. Like, it's weird where it's located too. It's not like it's in a place in the arena where you can see it when you walk in.
Right.
It's
that's
in
a good point.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just not a fan of what they're doing right now. Another guy I would throw out there, however, is Rashard Lewis. I feel that was really one of the major free agents that chose to come to Orlando. Changed the NBA completely back in 09 when nobody was really playing this 4 guys out, 3-point shooting basketball. Credit to Stan Van Gundy for creating that game plan with Dwight on the team. But he was the one guy that again chose to come here, adjusted to playing the 4 when he was really a 3, and really made us be a team that went to the finals last year. And the year after, we almost made the finals again, if not for a few games that we lost to the Celtics. But I think that's a guy that, in my opinion, that deserves to have a lot of recognition from our fans. He changed our culture.
I think the only bad stigma with Rashard Lewis is that he's always going to be tied to us giving him such a really big contract for the type of player that he was.
I think he honored it, though. I mean, if you were to overpay for one guy right now, say you were to bring here, I don't know, some Bradley Beal, as an example, but you were like to give him some crazy amount of money, but then he took it to the finals 2 years in a row, or almost did. I'm okay with that. Like,
well, truthfully, I feel like we're in a position where we have to do what we did before.
Yeah.
All right. Orlando is not a top tier destination for free agents, so you're gonna have to overpay.
Yeah.
And I feel as if the Magic don't do that, we're gonna miss out on a lot of opportunities. Because you have so many players out there that, one, want to be that guy, and 2, want to get paid like being that guy. Mm-hmm. And we have the opportunity and the position to be able to do that. So, yeah, you're right. No Rashard Lewis, no NBA Finals, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But we did overpay him.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
All right, so let's get into the numbers. So right now, the Magic are currently 8 games under 500, holding down the 8th seed in the East. Points per game, the Magic are at 104, which has us 29th in the league. 3-point percentage, 33.8 at 28th in the league. And our offensive rating at 105.5, which has us 25th. Defensively, points allowed, 105.7. Believe it or not, we are still holding down the first in the league. Blocks 5.8, which has us 5th, and then our defensive rating 107.6, which has us 8th in the NBA. So after the All-Star break, we only had one game, which was this past Friday against the Dallas, where it was a 122-106 loss. How'd you guys feel about that game? If you recall, this was a game that Wesley Iwundu did not get any minutes, didn't play at all, and James Ennis had started over Wesley Iwundu. So what'd you guys think of the game? Thoughts?
So, right after, coming out of the All-Star break, seeing Iwundu, Evan, and T. Ross vacationing together, I thought, that was going to help out a lot. Seeing AG robbed of that dunk contest championship, I thought that was going to inspire and motivate him. There were a lot of things, the rest I thought was going to be really good for Markel. There was a lot of things that I thought were at play coming back from All-Star weekend. But it looks like Orlando's still struggling with the same issues that they had prior to the break. Going down by 20 points or 14 points coming back and then ending up losing by, double digits. That's one of the things that we've criticized the team for, during the season. And the first game back, apparent. The first apparent thing that you see. Markel Fultz, having cramping issues. That's also a little bit concerning because, again, he did have rest for a week. We saw him cramp during the LA Lakers game as well. So I thought the rest was going to help him in that regard. It didn't. Our shots struggled immensely. I don't know. It's just a lot of things that I thought were going to be corrected during the break that don't seem to be.
I expected a loss in that game. I know I predicted a win in our predictions, but I really expected a loss just because Dallas is playing at a high level right now. They're number one offense in the NBA. Luka and those guys are just another level. Their three-point shooting was out of control in that game. Guys off the bench were coming in and just drilling threes. And mind you, Seth Curry didn't even have that good of a shooting game, which he usually does. The Magic honestly didn't play bad. It's just Dallas wasn't missing. We were contesting shots. They were just making them. Rotation-wise, yeah, they won the situation. Was surprising. Again, I expected it. Once I heard Ennis was starting, I'm like, hey, who's going to lose minutes? It's not MCW. Augustine is back. Somebody's going to be sitting out. I wish it would have been Clark instead, and he wanted to play some minutes at the 4. I know he's kind of undersized for that, but he can handle it.
Clark only played 8 minutes.
Still, Iwundu should have gotten those 8 minutes. I think he's earned it. He's played hard enough, and we'll talk about it later on in our podcast today. But it's a game it's a Magic game. It's a game that we couldn't make shots, and unfortunately, that's our issue right now. 29th in offense. That's what Ant just said. We can't keep up with a team that scores every other possession. We just can't.
Did anybody else feel like this game was just another typical Magic game?
Yeah.
Because at one point that we were down by double figures, came back fighting, and then we end up losing by double figures.
That's what we do.
It's just a nonstop, never-ending story. And I think that what disappoints me the most is that Aaron Gordon was like the talk of the town. And numerous medias, they said, man, I feel bad for whoever has to go against Aaron Gordon.
Hold on, I got to interrupt. He also dropped a song that said,
I'm
going to put 40 on your noggin. What?
He's done that once before. Couple times. But he only had 10 points, 12 rebounds. I expected more. I thought that this was going to be the motivation that he needed to kind of take the reins and take it forward. I thought that we were going to see a more aggressive Aaron Gordon, an angrier Aaron Gordon. I feel like we didn't see it. It was the typical Nikola Vucevic and Evan Fournier. Nick had 27, Fournier 28, leading the way as is always them two. Right?
Leading to a loss.
Leading into a loss. And then us getting destroyed by another no-name Maxi Kleber.
That's a typical Magic game.
No,
right there.
Maxi Kleber is really good.
No, he is good.
That's one of the guys that I thought Orlando should have tried to push for
Yeah.
to bring out here.
But in that fourth quarter,
it's always that one player that you don't expect from the opposing team that's whooping our ass.
Yeah,
in that fourth
that's
quarter,
true.
though,
That's
all he was
That's a
doing was
Magic
pick and
game like
pop.
that.
The entire fourth quarter, and we could not guard him.
It's another experiment. How many minutes was Ennis playing in Philly?
off the bench.
Like less than 10?
Yeah, at this point.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he's playing 22, 25 minutes a game?
I'm not upset with that in this.
No, I'm not upset. I'm just saying it's just another experiment.
It is another experiment, but what it kind of feels like, it feels as if Steve Clifford needs to stop having conversations with Stan Van Gundy because he's putting way too much input in his mind, and it kind of feels like we almost have Stan Van Gundy as a coach because he's asking for a lot of advice. But by the time that they have a conversation, it sounds good. He brings the information back to Orlando Magic camp, and then it's kind of like the watered down version of SVG.
Yep.
And then it's just not working out. James Ennis, I agree. I think that he should be our starter.
I agree.
But I don't think that it should eliminate the amount of contributions that Iwundu has been given to this team.
Yeah.
I think in the same way that at the beginning of the season, Clifford was kind of staggering Markel and DJ where they played even minutes. I think he should do something similar with Ennis, Iwundu, and MCW. I think that there should be like a 3-player split.
I agree.
In starting minutes where everybody plays about 12 minutes or so. I think that gives more balance, and yes, it does open up your rotation a little more. But this is a team where you don't have enough offensive power from the guys that play every game. You have to incorporate new players into that. You also have to incorporate new rotations. You can't be afraid to just try things out, like Terrence Ross in the starting lineup or moving Evan to the 3, giving some guys some burn at 2. I think those are all options that I don't think will make the team worse. And at a minimum keeps us at the same level we're at now.
Do you feel like a 10-man rotation is too many players?
No,
No,
not for this team.
Many teams do it. Many teams do it. And
How
it
about
works for them.
when it comes to the playoffs? Like, we make the 7-8 spot. Would you still stick with a 10-man rotation?
If it's working.
If it's working, yeah. Like I said, I don't think we have enough offensive power to limit our rotation to 8-9 guys.
I just think that Wesley Iwundu should have gotten the 7 minutes that were given to Gary Clark.
Yeah.
I think if you're going to stick to 10-man rotation, I'm choosing Wes over Gary.
And what's their
So
height
then
difference?
should we open it up? Should it be opened up to I guess this is what I'm saying. There shouldn't be a cap on how many players are playing in a rotation on the night for this team. Yeah. I'm not saying that for any successful NBA team has to have a cap on rotational players, but for this team and the offense that this team can produce, there shouldn't be a cap. There should be a situation where Cliff can see what's going on and say, hey, this isn't working. I understand we have a 10-man rotation today. This isn't working. Let's add an 11th man.
Yeah, unless injuries happen, that's the only way that he will do that, which is kind of sad.
Yeah.
But what you're saying is true. We've been preaching for that since October, which is be dynamic. Just go based on the flow of the game.
Yep.
Again, there are times when Iwundu was a better matchup out there.
Right.
Just throw him out there. There's times when MCW was playing really, really well. Leave him out there. Don't take him out. But we know how that goes. It's the Markel thing at the 5-minute mark back in December thing,
right,
where the 5-minute mark came, Markel's coming out no matter what's happening. You can't do that. And I think we all agree it's got to change. Unfortunately, one thing that Clifford has, like Sam Van Gundy, is he's very stubborn. Like, he just sticks to his rotation. He sticks to his game plan. And it feels like Iwundu knew about this on Thursday because he tweeted some random things that got us thinking in our group chat. So that tells you everything. He's pre-planning for a game on a Thursday without knowing what's going to happen on the game.
I think it's very telling that we were having the same criticisms about Cliff in November, December, February going into March, still the same criticism. What happens? You know what I mean?
So just moving forward a little to the Jews. So we obviously mentioned that James Ennis was inserted into the starting lineup. Do you think that should be the plan moving forward? Are you still okay with him being in the starting lineup?
Absolutely.
I'm cool with it. Adds another shooter to our team. For granted, Iwundu was shooting great for us, but I think it gives us a little bit more of a solid shooter. Ennis deserves to, I believe, play in the starting lineup. He's a veteran presence. He can play defense as well. At the same time, I do believe Iwundu needs to play, but I have nothing against Ennis starting in the lineup with us.
He had a really bad game. 21 minutes played, 2 points. He was one of 6 of his field goal attempts. I mean, there wasn't anything special from him.
That's what his third game played for us, though.
Yeah, and I mean, the offense that what we had him doing in offense, and I was able to watch it, is stand in the corner the whole time. And I don't think that's the best way to use Ennis. But he just literally sat in the corner. And the only time he would shoot the ball is if they give it to him. He just jacked it up. You got to be, again, more creative with the plan on offense for him. I'm sure he can come off a screen and shoot a three. I'm sure he can dribble the ball and create off a pick and roll. But again, we're playing that Markel situation. Markel doesn't have the ball in his hands. He's sitting in the corner. I don't know, man. Our offense is just.
I just think statistically he was maybe that much better than Wesley Iwundu in the game, and he didn't see any floor minutes. So I don't know. I guess because he's still so new to the roster, I would rather prefer Wesley Iwundu start and then James Ennis off the bench. At the very least, he's impacting the bench.
True.
Especially with and we're gonna talk about it in a minute, but DJ Augustine coming back, our bench now is just a little bit better, and I would have liked to see that more than just throwing James Ennis into starting lineup.
I think it's fair. I mean, again, if those three players, like I said before, Iwundu, MCW, and James Ennis had that minute split between them, I think you wouldn't really notice that much of a difference. But when you have Ennis, who again has played 3 games for us, jumping in and playing 20+ minutes, obviously his lack of flow in the offense is going to be obvious to the eye because he's not a fit yet. He's still getting to know the players. He's still getting to know the system. Orlando plays much differently than Philly does. So I think, it's something that is going to take time. And again, if you offset those minutes, I think that the visibility of his shortcomings will be less. And it'll allow him, kind of time and space to grow in with our offense.
Yeah, I wouldn't have started him this game, especially being his third game, coming off of a 9-day vacation and him not having the ability to build that chemistry with the team.
Right.
I mean, we're trying to win these last couple games, and Wundu should have been up there, and it should have probably got 8-10 minutes, if that.
And what makes it difficult for West is the fact that obviously you have James Ennis starting, and then you bring back DJ Augustine, who was injured since mid-January due to a knee issue. Now DJ Augustine comes back into the Magic fold, and he plays 60 minutes but goes scoreless. Are you excited to have DJ back?
Oh, I am. I mean, just from, again, what we said earlier, we need shooting. We need offense. And one thing that he can bring is shooting and offense. So I'm happy with him back in the team. We've missed him. However, MCW didn't do a bad job playing backup point guard. He held his own. He was averaging close to double digits. He can't shoot like DJ, so the defense guards Fournier, Ross, and Vooch differently when he's out there. But obviously, he's going to be someone who's going to help us in our playoff push here. Only bad thing is, again, our rotation needs adjustments, and it leaves us wondering what's going to happen.
I think I want to see Cliff experimenting and having DJ play 2 guard again, especially if you're going to have him in the lineup with MCW. I think MCW handles the ball well enough to play point guard, but his shot is obviously an issue. So if you have MCW handling the ball and DJ as an undersized 2, he's proven that, coming off screens, even with his height, coming off screens, he's deadly from the 3-point line. Yeah. And I think it kind of frees up his offense when he's not on the ball. I'd love to see DJ play 2 guys.
Not only that, but I think MCW does some great things with the ball in his hands.
Yeah.
Whether it's pick and rolls, pushing off rebounds, he creates that offense for us.
Right.
DJ is more of a let's bring the ball up and let's create on a slow pace half-court offense. So I agree with you. I think that would help us keep that Markel momentum going, even when he's on the bench.
Right. I'm an MCW fan. What I like about MCW is the fact that if you take a look at his stats, nothing really jumps out to you. But his play and the way that he plays impacts the game so much that it may not show on the stat sheet, but it's something that every team needs, that gritty dog that I feel like MCW is.
Yeah, every off ball, every rebound out there that's loose, he's the one that's gonna grab it. Even last game against Dallas, there was a ball was going out of bounds. Everyone's like looking at it. He came out of nowhere and saved it. Like, it's just little things like that he does that keeps us in the game. And when we made that comeback from 18 points down, he was up there on the court in that moment. So it's hard to bench him. I just want to see the ball more in his hands rather than put him in the corner to shoot a 3 or to create with 8 seconds on the shot clock. That's not his game. It's more of a creator, not so much of a offensive power.
Yeah, and I think he shot. I gotta take a look at the stats, but there was a couple moments that he shot 2 or 3 3-pointers, and I'm just like, man, I love you, man, but that's not your game.
Yeah,
stop doing that. That right there, stop it. Yeah, and I agree. I'd be open to the fact of have him come down, bring the ball down, and then get the ball out of his hands and just pass it to someone that can shoot. But again, he impacts the game in so many different ways that I'm okay with him being on the floor.
Sure.
With DJ Augustine, it doesn't concern me that he went scoreless. First game back from the injury, it's definitely going to take him some time to get back into the groove. I think this team really, really misses his shooting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like I said, DJ is one of those guys, right? Because you look at him and he's like 5'10", right? And you're like, kind of the same thing with Isaiah Thomas, right? Where they have this skill set, but their height kind of prevents them from being, like that next level. But I think DJ still at his age has the quickness and agility to play two guard. Because I think he's faster than a lot of two guards in a weird way. So it puts him in situations where he could still cut to the basket and do things that bigger guys do.
And even more in today's NBA. So many teams out there rolling out with 3 point guards. Rotations
OKC,
and stuff.
man.
The Rockets,
Rockets
have no
OKC,
center
they're playing
really.
well.
So in today's NBA, you technically could go out there and play Markel, DJ, and MCW together.
Right.
And make that be a fast-paced lineup.
Right.
We just got to get creative into those things.
That's something Clifford, I would say, should give a try, at this point.
Yeah. Being unpredictable is one of those things that can definitely steal you a couple wins going down the stretch. Because teams, by this, you have to imagine by this point in the season, teams already know who you are.
Yeah.
Right? They
change
come
it
to Orlando, they're like, this is what we're going to expect. So you switch it up, throw them off their game. It can make the difference.
Yeah. There's games where I've even thought about throwing Gordon at the 5 instead of playing Bamba when he's struggling sometimes.
Yeah.
Throw Gordon at the 5 and run with a really short lineup, fast-paced. Again, but it doesn't happen in Orlando.
No.
Yeah, so obviously something major that happened that night before the game was the fact that Darrell Armstrong was inducted into the Orlando Magic Hall of Fame, which is a really big deal. If you remember Darrell Armstrong, you know that he was the leader of the Heart and Hustle. And he had a quote that I wanted to read. It's Heart and Hustle night. It's an honor for me from where I came from, a 13th man on a 13-man team my first year and only a year playing in high school. And now I'm here getting into the Hall of Fame with 4 outstanding guys. You can't ask for any more than that. This was a player that, if you remember him, he went undrafted. Magic picked him up, and he really had to fight his way into having an NBA career. And Darrell Armstrong, to me, is the epitome of what we want guys to be on this Magic roster. Kind of still hurts me the fact that he's part of the Dallas Mavericks organization, because he should be the player that we have around. Not necessarily next to Nick Anderson's and the Bo Outlaws, but a player that should be a part of our roster to help and develop certain players. So how did you guys feel about him being inducted into the Hall of Fame?
I used to love watching Darrell Armstrong play. He, like you said, he definitely had a lot of heart, a lot of hustle. He kept the ball moving. He was quick. He was aggressive. He showed a lot of emotion, which I loved, and I wish we would have right now. So I just don't think Vooch and Evan matched that heart and hustle that Armstrong had. Just wanted to throw that out there, and I'm looking forward to a change.
So do you think? Okay, so I definitely disagree. I think Evan.
I knew you were going to talk next. That's why
Evan's heart and passion and desire to play and win is unquestionable. I don't think if there's a player,
it's questionable. I feel like he's always on vacation.
It doesn't translate to wins.
If there's a player who is visibly upset in a loss or when the team is playing badly, it's Evan. I don't think Evan ever goes to the bench like, we're getting smoked right now. It's all good.
I think I saw it last game.
Nah, Evan. Well,
I had good seats and I saw some facial.
First game back, they were what?
They're still on
Turks,
vacation,
right?
mode. So
Turks and
I'm willing
Caicos?
to throw this game and say, hey, you know what? You just got back from vacation. Experimenting a little bit.
I think ultimately Orlando as an organization has to do a better job at bringing in the history of the team, who the team was, because the team had successes, right? You know how many people I speak to that don't even realize that Orlando made it to the NBA Finals before? Yeah. Like, there's a lot of Magic history that just isn't brought forward, that a lot of people, especially the new age, a lot of the people that go to the games are 18, 19-year-old people that don't really know about the history of the
But now
team.
that you say that, where in the arena do they display like?
It's on the terrace level, like at section 103, I think it is. It's like in the lobby area. Like it's not even like.
I mean, to be honest, most
No.
fans go to this upper level, so they don't
Yeah,
get to
so
see
but
that.
I mean, not even that. Even if you sit on the terrace level, but you're the other side, you're not gonna see it. To me, it should be somewhere like right in the entrance when you walk in. It should be a nice little mural.
Yeah.
But no,
Yeah.
it's on the terrace level.
Or even coming in from the Geico parking lot, that
Exactly.
whole open area there where
Yeah.
the team shop, the smaller team shop is. I think that would be a good area. It's centralized, and it would allow everyone to kind of on their way out of the arena
Yeah.
to walk by and
or
see
even
it.
just
even-
have it throughout the stadium.
Even in like the Kia suite is, like make that be like a museum where you can just go in with your ticket and go back and
Yeah.
watch.
Right.
The players have been retired, blah blah blah.
You know
But
what? I
it's
saw some of
hidden.
it through the VIP exit. You could see Rashard Lewis. You could see.
Oh yeah. But those are just like pictures and stuff. But, like
Yeah,
the
but
actual
it
murals
talks
and-
about it and stuff.
But that's the thing, though. Do we have enough history and
We have
greatness in the
history.
Yes.
past to just do something like
We
that?
do.
We
and
do
be
have
proud of it.
We've had various players that you can argue are Hall of Fame,
Yeah.
not Magic Hall of Fame, but NBA Hall of Fame.
But do you think
caliber
the Magic feel
players.
proud to, display the past?
They-
Are they
no,
satisfied with it?
They do. It's just we get so used to the proper way of honoring players is by retiring their jersey. It's right there in the rafters. You're sitting down in your seat. Doesn't matter where you're sitting in the arena. You immediately see it. You're drawn to it. But if you just have one little section where it is, and half of the people that walk by it, one, don't appreciate it, and two, don't even know who it is to appreciate
I think
it.
that there's definitely ways to be innovative in celebrating the
why
history
don't
of
we-
this team.
Why don't we do that? Why don't we put something in the rafters that just says Darrell Armstrong Magic Hall of Fame? Just something in the rafters. Just like it doesn't have to be a number attached to it.
And the team is in control of what goes up there.
Or even
it's
seats.
not a
You
Like,
mean
name
you
seats
mean more
after
like
players.
like a banner that
Yeah.
has Magic Hall of Fame and then just write the name? I'd be open to that. Just
Yeah,
put
just
put someone's name up there.
Exactly.
I would say take
Like-
number 6 off because this is not about the fans.
Who I want to know who came up with the 6-man jersey fan retirement.
I don't know,
think
but I know
that's the Boss family. I think that was something that he was very passionate about. Rich the Boss, and he wanted to honor the fans.
but it's
that
not
way.
it's not a cultural thing, right? Like, so I talk about living in Seattle. So with the Seahawks, the 12th
Oh, yeah,
fan
yeah.
is a real thing. Like, people buy jerseys, Seahawk jerseys with a 12th fan on it, right? And it's something that the culture of not just the city, but obviously the NFL team in that area is embraced. There's flags that fly the 12. Like, this is a cultural thing because there's this idea that the Seattle fans are so passionate and so engaged with their team that it is almost like having an extra person on the field. That's not the case here.
No.
Most nights, you hear the opposing team's fans louder than the Magic fans in the building. When
you can't blame them. Don't say that because you
No, no,
can't
no.
blame them.
That's-
because we've
that's not-
been in this
that's
for
not-
so long.
That's not necessarily
There's-
true because when we went to the Atlanta Hawks game, we were sitting in section 114, right? Like 6 rows up from the court. And we made it a point, everyone except Mark, made it a point to be loud, right?
Yeah.
To express, like, I am here. I'm interested in watching this team. And if I can play a role in getting a win for this team, I'm going to be as loud and as passionate as I can be. So while the product is not as great as it probably should be, the fans are also responsible for contributing to that.
You know what it is? I think is again, it's not part of our culture, and I say that because again, when I lived up north before, going to Celtics games, man, they're packed every single game, sold out. Number one, number two, the fans are into it as if
Right.
it was a playoff game,
Yep.
even though it's game 42 in the regular season.
Mm-hmm.
Here, fans show up in the playoffs. Last year, we saw that when
Yeah.
we made the playoffs, game 3, game 4, loud as heck in there. Fans were screaming. They all were in their shirts that were given away. So fans have that passion. The problem is those fans only show up when the team is doing really well.
It's called fair weather.
Correct.
Fair weather fans is what we
Correct.
have.
And you know what's
I
unfortunate?
don't agree. I think we have a really great fan
No,
base.
we do.
I just think we're tired.
We do.
There's not much of excitement. Markel's probably the most exciting player we've had in
I mean,
a few years.
you're right. It is hard to be excited and passionate when you lose.
But look at the seats. I mean, people come to the game.
People come to the games. The only problem is many Magic fans buy season tickets,
And it's not tourists.
but it's for a profit. They'll go and they'll sell half of the games to make a profit on those
Right.
tickets.
We got casual.
Whereas if we have a Dwight Howard era back all over again, those fans were buying tickets to go to the games. So it's different. I mean, and I get it. The team is not that great. Prices went up again, so fans are not too happy right now. But we just need quality teams. But go back to the point of Darrell Armstrong and kind of how we started everything. I like that idea. Just put something in the rafters, a banner that just says, hey, Shaquille O'Neal, all those guys, Magic Hall of Fame at the very least.
You know, we're not the only team that has the number 6 jersey retired for the fans. It's also the Sacramento Kings. But next to the number 6, they have other players.
Yeah.
What I think that
Stojakovic, Divac.
players that they made that team. That's the Sacramento Kings history. That was a big part of the rivalry that they had back then with the Vladis versus Shaq and the Lakers and the whole nine. But at the same time, so the Magic did unretire the number 6 jersey back in 2001 when we picked up Patrick Ewing. We brought down the number 6 just so that Patrick Ewing can wear it for that 1 year, and then we put it right back up. What should have happened, and we should have kept that number right back down. Like, it should have never went back up.
Yeah.
Because to me, I just find it cringy as a fan, and the fact that we have to explain, or anytime I have a conversation, explain it. It's the fans. That's pretty much it. Now let's move on to pass or shoot. Jumping right into the topic, the Magic have the players to be successful, but the coaching is what's holding this team back.
I'm gonna shoot on that. I agree. I think Steve Clifford is a really good guy, personality-wise. I don't have an issue with him. But I think for this team to be successful, with its current construction, keeping the same guys we have, I think there has to be a change in focus. I think Markelle has to be the focal point. I think Evan Fournier is a really good shooter and should be, behind Fultz. But I think there has to be an emphasis on running the open court and pushing the pace. And I've spoke about this before, but I think as long as you slow things down and play the half-court game with Vooch and make Vooch the focal point of the offense, as good as Vooch is, because he's not a bad player, we won't be successful. And that is because a slower pace is easier to guard against, especially with the athleticism in the league nowadays. And you put Vooch in a situation where it makes him look bad because now he's getting double teamed in the paint. He's getting the ball stolen from him, and it's exposing his shortcomings. So I think the way to offset that is, again, to push the pace high, play high transition basketball. And Cliff, unfortunately, is not that coach.
I'm going to shoot as well. I just want to see him use players more correctly. I want to see Aaron Gordon play a lot more 4 and be able to play inside a lot more and just spending time in the outside. That falls on the coach. I want to see Markelle be more of a primary handler and have him be focused more on the offense. That's more on coach as well because he has Fournier being the point guard at times, and that's when the buddy ball comes in with Vooch and Fournier. And we all know the last few years that hasn't even worked. I want to see more Fournier be more of a 2-guard coming off screens, spotting up, shooting a little bit, So just trying to fix things with players and let them know, hey, like, I've seen you're playing this way lately. We're going to change it up a little bit. We're going to make things more comfortable for you. We're going to make more things more comfortable for this player. Just switch up the play style and for a few of these players and get them to play more to their strengths.
So really quick, because you did bring it up, do you think that the problem is that Cliff isn't holding the players accountable enough?
True, because they play one way, right? Like, do you think he's holding Aaron Gordon accountable for the way he plays at times?
Honestly, I don't think so.
Right? Because he does it multiple games and it's still not fixed. Like, the whole year we've been seeing that.
What choice does he have, though? His job is to be able to put the best player on the floor. I'm passing for a simple fact that, does he have moments where his decisions are questionable? Yeah. But our last 5 coaches have been terrible with more or less of the same roster. Great players make great coaches. Look at Frank Vogel. Now all of a sudden he's considered an elite coach because he's coaching LeBron James and Anthony Davis.
But is that because Frank Vogel is coaching, or is that because LeBron's running the show? I think that's a different conversation.
We're giving LeBron way too much credit.
Are we? I don't think that we're giving LeBron too much credit. Every team that LeBron has played for has made the coach successful. Right, and Eric Spoelstra was a new coach,
but that's because
Tyronn Lue was a new
LeBron
coach.
LeBron as a player, your talent level for the team is already higher than the rest of the NBA. He's the best player in the world.
So what happens if LeBron played for the Magic right now? Do you think Clifford would be an elite coach right now?
Yes,
exactly. So I understand your point. It's true. So the whole Vogel situation. Vogel was our coach a few years ago, and we fired him because we couldn't win games with him. All of a sudden now he's coaching the Lakers. And he's an elite coach again. The roster has a major impact on that. And to answer this point to you guys, so the question you asked, and I pass on that because the question is, do the Magic have the roster to be successful? and it's the coach's fault. And I'm going to completely disagree with that. I feel like we don't have the right roster. We have the worst offense in the NBA for the last 3 years. That hasn't been fixed. You can't blame that on the coach.
Yeah.
You can't. Like, and he said in the
no,
post.
I think you could blame that on the coach.
No, you can't. You can't. I mean, how could you say we have the best defense? That's what he's a preacher of. Let's play defense. We have one of the best defenses in the NBA. He's doing his job. However, he cannot control when the ball goes in the basket. The guys that we have are not shooters.
Coaching might be an issue. Understand? Coaching might be an issue, but we won't know 100% until we make roster changes.
Correct.
The only roster changes that we've done is we brought Jonathan Simmons and we traded him for Markelle Fultz. What else have we done outside of drafting players? We can't expect for Mo Bamba to be our savior, right?
Yeah.
Granted, that doesn't fall on Coach Cliff. That falls on the front office. All it takes is one player to change a franchise.
Correct.
Trae Young, Luka Doncic, the whole nine, right? We got Mo Bamba. So we've been striking out for draft picks for how long now?
Yeah.
And this team is going to continue to struggle. Doesn't matter who we bring in because we can bring in whatever coach. Because my personal feeling is what coach can you bring in right now that's going to, one, be better than Steve Clifford, and two, gain the respect of his players like Steve Clifford
and
does.
not only that, but like, can you put here, you can put here Phil Jackson.
Mark Jackson. We could bring Mark Jackson.
I'm just saying, like, bring the best NBA of the best coach out there right now.
Mark Jackson.
Spoelstra, anybody. Put him with this roster right now. Do you think we would be 10 games better?
Yes, I
don't think so.
I do because again, I don't think that the talent is the issue. I think the way that the talent is being utilized is the issue.
So if
I think when you like Mark said, when you have Evan Fournier, kind of ball handling like he's the point guard, you have Aaron Gordon over dribbling, right? Those are all tendencies that the coach is responsible for stopping. When you have Vucevic consistently now trailing to shoot a three-pointer, even if it's a bad shot, because he no longer wants to play in the paint like he used to. Those are all things that the coach is responsible for, because you hold guys accountable, right? If Steve Clifford said, Aaron Gordon, you're over dribbling the hell out of the ball, right? You're forcing shots up on double teams. Every time you do that, sprints, or every time you do that, your minutes get decreased. Like, there has to be some type of reprimand for consistently playing outside of what benefits the team. So I don't think that we lack the talent, right? Terrence Ross is a really good shooter when you put him in positions to be successful. When you have him just running around and doing whatever he finds, that's not the best way to utilize him. When Evan Fournier is playing outside of the three line and coming off screens, he's hitting those threes at a pretty high rate. When you put Markelle in the right situation, right, and allow him the freedom to handle the ball and control the offense, you've seen that Markelle can unlock certain attributes in players' games. For example, Aaron Gordon, that you don't see when Markelle's not playing. So there is talent there. I think Steve has to kind of step back, stop consulting Stan Van Gundy, find his own rhythm, and make his own decisions and allow this team to thrive. I think, for example, if Mark Jackson was the coach of this team, it would play at a much higher rate offensively, speed-wise and shooting-wise.
You can argue that Steve Clifford is maximizing what he can with the roster that he has. Out of the teams in the East, top 8, right, that are in the playoffs, we're the only team without an all-star. The only team without an all-star. What more do you want from Steve Clifford?
Yeah.
He took us. So we bring Steve Clifford on. We make it to the NBA playoffs that nobody was expecting last season, and now we're still on the verge of doing that. Now,
despite the injuries and all
now
that.
you could argue that Brooklyn doesn't have an all-star, but they still had Kyrie Irving on the team.
Yeah.
Now that they're losing him, there's a good chance that there's going to be a fallout. But he has no all-star. He's really relying on Nikola Vucevic
and that's why
Evan Fournier.
That's why the question was, again, we go back to the same. The wording is important in this question. Is, do they have the players to be successful? And I don't think we do. If you put Mark Jackson in this team and you put Clifford coaching Steph and Clay back in 2013, I feel like Clifford would have done the same thing. Go out there and shoot, because that's their skill. This roster is not built right. And I think our front office, like Ant said, the moves they've made have been very, very minor. And I don't blame them. They're evaluating. That's a proper way of doing it. They're adding assets. They're adding talent to our team. But it hasn't been meaningful moves. Now, it's got to come to a point where you got to make moves to add offense, because it's obvious. Our defense is strong. Our offense sucks. As simple as that. If next year you add a guy, I don't know, DeRozan, whoever you bring here to be an offensive weapon, and we're struggling at that point, we're winning 30 games, now you can say, hey, we got a good defense, we've added you players that can score, and we continue to struggle, now you can say, hey, you're out of here.
But here's the thing. It doesn't matter if you bring a DeRozan here. As long as the offense is ran through Vooch the way that it is, the result is going to be the same. Regardless of the fact, it is February, the last week of February going into March, and this team has not even won 25
So you're telling me,
yet.
so straight up, you're telling me right now, this is the best roster we could possibly have, and this is the best team we could throw out there right now.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
No, but
I'm saying that with the roster that we have, we should be at a better point.
Really?
In the standings
without Isaac,
because
without
I don't,
Augustine, without Vooch missing
Right.
almost a month.
Yeah, because again,
think so, man.
we're not running the guys who are contributing to the pace, the speed, and the ball movement like we should be. When we played, for example, the Lakers, you saw a lot of the young guys have that opportunity. And what was the difference in that game?
They were running.
While Evan was not playing, the difference was that they were running and they were pushing the pace, and their defense was at the level that it's at. So Steve Clifford has defensively helped this team develop, but offensively, he has not allowed them the freedom to play at the pace, at the level that they could. If you had a lineup, right, with Markelle Fultz, Fournier, T. Ross, AG, right, and let's just say Mo Bamba because Vooch is slower on that end, you're telling me that wouldn't be one of the fastest lineups in the NBA?
Of course, but then we'll go back to the same point. The roster's not built correctly, so that's not the coach's fault. You're telling me that coach will say to front office, "I'm not playing Vooch as a starter." You can't do that. This guy's making $100 million.
No, but you also have to be okay with, you made the mistake of paying Vooch $100 million.
I know.
You made that mistake. Guess what? You might just have to eat the $100 million. That doesn't mean
That's
that
not gonna
Vooch has
happen,
to be
but-
the focal
it's
point
not.
of the offense.
But what makes it a mistake? He was an NBA All-Star. You have to give him a contract. If you don't give him a contract, you're losing your one player that got you to the playoffs.
Who
for the
didn't
first
make
time in a
All-Star
decade.
this year? Who didn't make All-Star this year?
You can't. He's not going to tell the future. He's going based on the information that they have
Correct.
at the time.
And-
of
and-
making
but again-
that
but again,
decision.
the point
and
here
at the
is-
very least, then you use him for assets to be able to trade elsewhere.
The point
we haven't
here
gotten
is
to that point.
Nobody's
gotta-
going to trade for Vooch's contract, though. That's
Oh,
Why
they will.
wouldn't? Their contract isn't that. His contract is not that bad.
It's declining.
It could have been. It could have been way worse.
You're
way
still
worse.
paying him $23 million a year
and you're willing. And you're
for a
willing
guy who's not going to lead you to a championship.
but you're willing to pay that for Evan Fournier.
If Evan Fournier was utilized correctly, I think his offensive productivity.
Evan
Hold on.
Fournier is
his
being
offensive
used correctly. He has a green light to do whatever he wants.
That's not how Evan should be used.
to not be able to do whatever he
okay,
I
wants.
don't
so-
think Evan should have a green light.
there
I
we
think
go.
Evan should come off of high pick and roll, screen and roll plays
But
and
that's the
shoot the
thing.
three.
Our-
When Evan fades to the corners, right? He hits those shots at a pretty high rate, right? He doesn't have to be the focal point of the offense. I think that the focal point of the offense has to be Markelle Fultz.
I agree.
And Markelle Fultz has to be able to to distribute the ball
Which he
how
does.
he sees fit,
Yeah.
and control the pace how he sees fit. The problem is that there's still a battle between giving Markelle Fultz full reign and allowing Vucevic to control the offense.
I don't think that that's a battle because he just got back to the NBA. You're expecting way too much from Markelle Fultz. Listen, Steve Clifford is doing the best that he can in knowing what will give him the best chance of winning. Right now, it's Nikola Vucevic and Evan Fournier.
Yeah, and not only that, he's being forced to do that because they are the two best players.
That's all
and
he
again,
has.
it goes back to the
They're
point
going
that
to remain the two best players until you give other players the opportunity.
this
to
offseason,
thrive.
Fournier's not coming back. We know that. But my point is, you cannot blame the coach for that. He's playing with the card he's been dealt. Those cards are your best players, Fournier and Vooch. You got to run with that. Markelle Fultz, to all of us, it's a surprise. Nobody expected Markelle to be who he is today. Nobody expected that. So we're adapting to that. But now that leads to roster changes, which I fully expect to happen this offseason.
Would you rather have Vooch move this offseason or Evan move this offseason?
Both.
If
I'm
you
okay with
let me caveat. If you could only move one, would you rather
Vooch.
move Vooch or Evan?
Vooch.
Evan Fournier.
I say Vooch because I like the NBA today is shooting, and shooting Evan brings that. So if you can keep that here, I'm okay with that.
I think it depends on what you bring back because I really want to see what Nikola Vucevic is able to do when he's not the best player on the team. When you're not forced to run.
But
the
as long
offense
as he's
through Vooch.
here, he's going to be because
That's
that's
right.
what our office likes. That's what our coaching staff likes.
But it's not what the coaching staff likes because this is
They have to.
the first time we make it to the playoffs is the first time that we run everything through Nikola Vucevic. It's the best way for us to be able to win and get to the playoffs.
That's not true because we saw Vooch get locked down on defensively against Toronto in the playoffs.
That's in the playoffs. So I'm talking about getting into the playoffs.
Okay, but what happens once you're there? Because you have to believe, right? You have to believe that the Magic are making the playoffs this year. At this point, especially now that Kyrie's going to be out for the whole season, you have to believe Orlando makes the playoffs. I wasn't so sure before Kyrie's injury. Now it's like, yeah, it's a given. Orlando's going
Washington's
to
right
make
there, but I don't think
So
they catch up.
So what happens? You're gonna make the playoffs and then get smoked in the playoffs again because you're not adjusting.
It might happen with this roster. What more can they do?
They can change the focus
They
from
can't.
Vooch
They can't change
to
the focus.
Markelle.
What is changing the focus for Vooch going to do playing against Milwaukee in the first round?
Yeah, I know.
It would allow the floor to be spaced more, and it would allow more creativity with rotations.
True.
That are not centered on Nikola Vucevic.
But
Is that enough for Milwaukee?
No.
Milwaukee is the best team in the NBA. So are you saying that without Vooch this is a championship team? No, but I think that refocusing Vooch's strengths can lead us to more success. I believe that.
If we replaced one person on the team, on the coaching staff, and one person on the team on the player side, where would we be more effective? By changing coach or
The player.
just
The
a
player.
player, for sure.
The player. That would be the most instant impact.
Correct, because
Imagine
if we had a center that spaced the floor and had better speed, footwork, I think it can make a difference.
All I can say is, man, I went back to say it earlier. You can put Greg Popovich coaching this team, Phil Jackson right now with this roster the way it's built. We might be 1 game better, 2 games better.
There's no way.
It's again with the injuries we've had this year. Isaac being gone. I mean, we talked about this before.
Isaac scored 14, 15 points a game. He's not a difference maker at this point in time.
I'm not saying that Cliff isn't the problem. I'm just saying we're not going to really find out until we make an upgrade in roster.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, the roster's not. It's not a fair roster right now.
You can't put it all on Cliff. You can't put it all on the players.
Correct. We're not built right, and we haven't since Dwight left.
Decisions.
I think it's just easier to blame the front office. It's just easier.
Blame Alex.
Well, you know what? I wouldn't say you blame them because they're still in part of their process.
Let's blame Alex Martin.
We're way past the whole
it's a new
evaluation. We're like way past that. That's like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
But if Evan and Fournier stay,
Evan and Fournier stay.
Evan and
Fournier together.
I'm so disappointed in Evan Fournier.
I'm so disappointed in
No.
Evan and
Fournier.
Vooch. If Evan and Vooch stay and continue to be the focal point of this team, it's going to be the best.
I ultimately would keep Evan and try to trade Vooch.
But you're saying that as a fan though. But removing
No. If I could play like GM for a day, I think my first move would be to get AG and Vooch out of here and bring in a more consistent scorer to play. A more consistent scorer to play the 4, right? And bring in a mobile center.
This week ahead, we have games against Brooklyn on Monday, Atlanta on Wednesday, Minnesota Friday, and San Antonio this Saturday. So 4 games this week. We're going to go ahead and call the game against Brooklyn as the game of the week.
For sure.
What are your predictions?
I got a W.
I got to win against Brooklyn.
No Kyrie Irving?
Not only that, I think we know the urgency to get a 7th seed. We'll come out, we'll fight, we'll play hard. Brooklyn does too, so they'll play hard as well. So it should be a fun game. But I got us with the win.
I got to win as well. I think AG is going to blow up.
He plays well against Brooklyn though. I don't know why, but he always does.
Second game back from vacation.
I know I'm gonna take heat for this, but I got an L. I think Spencer Dinwiddie, Joe Harris, Kurucs,
Is a game
Karis
home or
LeVert,
away?
all
Away.
of those guys play better together when Kyrie's not there. So I think I'm gonna go with the L.
Yeah, I'm going to go with a loss also. The way that we've been playing, I just don't have confidence in our team, our roster, even our coaching staff. If the game was home, I would feel a little more comfortable with it. But since the game is in Brooklyn, Spencer Dinwiddie is the truth.
Barclay.
He has Joe Harris on the side also. That's a tremendous shooter. I'm going with Brooklyn.
Yeah, I'm going with a W. I thought we played Brooklyn well the first time. Well, we only played them once this year, right?
We won, yeah.
And we won. That was without Kyrie as well. Even though they do play better without Kyrie.
Markel had a career high that night.
Yeah.
he did.
It was a home game, so that can make a difference maker playing at Brooklyn. But I think we played them very well. I think we can pull out the W. We need to win this one.
All right, final thoughts.
Go 3-1 this week. We have some winnable games. We got Brooklyn. We got the Hawks. We got Minnesota. Even San Antonio have been playing that well. So I feel that this could be a big week for us. We have to win at least 3 games. Cannot go 2-2. Cannot go 1-3. It's got to be 3-1.
I'm looking forward to seeing how the rotations pan out. We got 4 games this week. This is James Ennis kind of experiment to see how it goes, how Iwundu's minutes goes, how DJ Augustine coming back feeling. There's a lot of different things that we can kind of learn from the team right now with Augustine back, with Ennis in the starting lineup. I want to see what the coaching staff does.
I can't see Wesley Iwundu getting 4 straight or 5 straight DMPs. So I'm expecting to see that the minute that he does get plugged into the game, that he takes the most advantage of it and really shows that he deserves to get minutes and even potentially take that starting spot back. In terms of the games that we're playing against, I can see us going 2-2. How has D'Angelo Russell been doing in Minnesota? Has anybody seen those games?
Honestly, I haven't watched.
He's not even playing today.
He's not playing yet.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
He's not playing today. He has knee soreness.
So I mean, it's the issue with the Magic has always been that we tend to drop our game to the level of our competition, and we really struggle to beat the teams that we're supposed to beat. So Brooklyn is a team that, in my opinion, we're supposed to beat, especially without Kyrie Irving. Same with Atlanta, Minnesota. It's just really, really depending. I'm not crazy about their roster, but that should be a potential win. But at the same time, I can't see it as a loss. And then San Antonio is San Antonio. So get me at least 2 wins. I'll be happy.
Yeah. For me, I think my final thoughts are centered around ball movement and pace. I know I say this. I've said this multiple weeks. But experiment, Cliff. Experiment. Try, like I said, try MCW, Markel, and DJ, at one time. Try Markel, Evan, T. Ross, and AG, or Iwundu in a lineup. Iwundu playing 4, AG playing a 5. Like, try lineups that are going to push the pace, kind of change it up on teams that aren't expecting it, where you have offense in the lineup, but you also have guys that are athletic, that can run, that can shoot the 3, can pass. That's what I want to see. I do think this week the team goes 2-2, and I think we end the week in the same predicament that we started.
This is going to sound crazy, but I'm going to go with the Magic winning for the rest of the month, all 4 games.
I can see that happening.
Hot take.
Hot take.
All
right, sounds good. That's a wrap for this episode. Peace.
Peace out.
Deuces, people.
Thank you for listening to the OZone podcast, the voice of Magic fans.
Be sure to visit our website, theozonepod.com, and remember to subscribe, rate, and leave a review on all your favorite podcast listening platforms.